In this video, I'm gonna be giving you some of the biggest lessons I've learned in sales and running my own business in order to become more productive, get more done, and generate more revenue. So the first tip I have for you is that it's not about how many hours you work, it's what you get done during the hours that you actually work. So if you think about this, right? Everybody has the same 24 hours. And realistically, in my opinion, you can only really work like 4 to 6 solid hours per day. And then everything else is kind of like, not that great or not your best, not very productive, right? And everybody's different, but I would say most people kind of fall under that bucket. I know for myself, definitely fall under that bucket as well. So we all have the same hours per day. And if you work 20 hours a day, you sleep 4, you're gonna like die because you're not getting enough sleep and you're overworking yourself and you're not gonna be productive during the hours you work. So it's not about how long you work, it's about what you do in those times. For me, right, as a business owner now, prioritize my time, and this has been a game changer, is that I look at the things that move my business forward the most, right? Usually it's going to be the most difficult things, is like training my team, hiring new people, creating products and services and making it the best in the market. Those would be some of the biggest things that I'm focused on right now. Oh, and creating content as well, because that's kind of huge in everything that I do. So those are the things that I always focus on in the first 4 hours of the day. So I don't like to answer any emails. I don't like to do anything that's related to admin, taxes. If anybody has a random question on my team, I'll say, talk to me later, because that's not what I'm trying to do right now. I gotta do the thing that moves everything forward. A lot of people, if you're entrepreneurs or even salespeople, they like the feeling of being productive. They like making a to-do list and they like doing all these random things in the morning. Maybe they have a routine and then they don't even start working until like 2 hours into the day. Everyone's different, but like I would always focus on prioritizing the most important things, especially in the first 4 hours, because you can move mountains during that time. Now, even if I was only working 4 hours a day, I could probably still get a lot done. I definitely work more than that, but I probably can get a lot done if I squeeze all the important things in the beginning, just because it's like I know how to prioritize the thing that moves the needle forward. So if you're a salesperson, understand that it's probably more important for you to like generate leads with prospects and close deals than it is to organize your CRM, for example, right? So don't get caught in the busy work, save it for the end, right? I know you're tired when you do it, nobody wants to do it and you have to do it, get it, but just focus on the thing that moves the needle forward. And if it's not making the boat go faster, it probably shouldn't be your priority. Now, another lesson that I've been learning a lot recently is that the type of business that you want to get into, like the specific niche, kind of determines how much money you make. Let's say if you're a very talented entrepreneur and you go into, let's say, just a dying niche, like newspapers, for example, right? Even if you're talented, even if you're the best at what you do, you may not be making that much money, because every year the newspaper industry is declining as social media and people getting news online is starting to obviously exponentially increase. So just being in the wrong industry actually can be detrimental to your success. Now, if you kind of just ride the wave of like what's hot, what's popping, what has low competition, but the demand just skyrocketed, even if you're not the smartest person, even if you're not the hardest working person, just because you position yourself in the right place at the right time, you can catch that tailwind and then you actually might be much more successful even though you're not as good as an entrepreneur, right? And so for example, let's say people who are doing like crypto and NFTs, and I understand that a lot of people have negative perceptions of like crypto and NFTs, okay, but you can't deny the fact that it is a exponentially growing industry and it is one of the fastest growing industries right now, even though there's a lot of scams in it. So even if you're not that great of an entrepreneur, I've seen people like raise a lot of money, I've seen people like make a lot of money, like millions of dollars, when in the traditional world, like they would be a nobody, but in the NFT world or the crypto world, like they're just blowing up just because the demand is so high. Just picking the right niche can determine like how successful you are. So if you're starting your, sales career, or maybe if you are, starting your own business, understand that who you're selling into or what category you're selling into will determine your success. So if you're a salesperson selling a software to dying industries, then it's gonna be very difficult for you to sell your product and service because they're dying, they don't have the budget, they're not gonna buy. But if let's say you're selling NFT development services to people who are building on Ethereum, which is like a super hot area right now, then it's gonna be extremely easy for you to sell your product and services because there's not many competition around and there's a lot of people looking for these products and services. So always understand that riding trends or riding waves sometimes is a lot more important than just being good at what you do, because everybody can be good, but getting lucky and being in the right place at the right time can really take you to the next level. And as I gotten older and as I learned a little bit more about business, I wouldn't call myself like super successful or anything, but I've learned that yes, skill is very important. Being a leader is important. Knowing how to generate revenue is important, but being lucky is actually very important. Being in the right place in the right time is extremely important, because just doing that combined with your hard work ethic can take you to the next level, right? But if you don't get lucky, you're not in the right place at the right time, it's kind of difficult for you to have like these parabolic results. Another tip I have for you guys is that you want to look at yourself and understand yourself and see what are some things that you find enjoyable that other people hate to do. For example, I hate doing my taxes. It's just annoying. I gotta collect all my documents and it's all messy, and then I have to like organize it and then give it to my accountant. Now, if somebody offered a service for me, like accounting services, and they're like, Patrick, I know you hate accounting. I know you hate organizing all these documents. So for a fee, a reasonable fee, I will do all that work for you. And guess what? I love this stuff. I love going into the weeds. I love organizing messes, turning chaos into something people can understand. You know, someone can build an entire business doing what they love to do for fun and get paid doing it, because if I hate to do it, I have a major problem. And again, you know, the strongest emotion to get someone to take an action is pain. So if you can solve other people's pain and you love doing that thing that solves that pain, you can build a very successful business out of it. For me, sales was very big for me, especially when I started my career, and I actually really loved the game, right? I had a lot of fun cold calling, I had a lot of fun cold emailing, I had a lot of fun closing on the phone and stuff like that. And other people hate it. You know, other people hate prospecting, they don't like the game, they don't like getting rejected. So because I thrived in it, I loved it, and it was fun for me, I was able to be successful in my career, and I applied it into entrepreneurship later on. Whereas other people, they hate to do it. They hate reaching out. They hate reaching out cold. They need an introduction. They need a friend of a friend, right? And so obviously they're not gonna get very far in their cold prospecting sales career, right? So what are the things that you love to do that other people hate to do? And that's how I was able to build like a whole YouTube channel around sales, because it's like other people, they hate sales. They think it's sleazy, it's slimy and whatever, but I always thought it was fun. And so by doing that, I filled this niche, this gap where, you know, I can provide a different perspective. And if you're watching this, then you are the result of all this hard work, right? So another lesson that I've been learning recently is that, you know how they say that your network is your net worth? I don't necessarily believe that, but I do believe that just seeing another person's perspective can completely change your life. Let me share with you how I even got started teaching sales online. It was because, you know, I was thinking about transitioning out of my, you know, corporate job and moving into my own business. And then I was watching like these webinars about how to sell your knowledge as an expert online as an online course, right? And so I started learning about these kind of concepts and how to build businesses online. And then there are certain individuals that I learned from. And so by just learning from their perspective, I was able to be like, oh, I didn't know I could build an entire business by selling online courses and like teaching people what I know. And that perspective completely changed my mindset. And that's how I was able to build this YouTube channel and do online courses, especially if you tried it, Sales Legacy, for example. And just like one person can completely change the trajectory. Or like it can also be like business partners, for example, right? Like just meeting the right person who wants to help you do XYZ and it introduces you to other people that can help make it possible. Those opportunities and that perspective change is very important as well. And a lot of times what we don't realize as human beings, especially if you like to do everything by yourself, is that you think you know everything, but in reality, you don't know anything. And that there are actually a lot more people smarter than you or have different perspectives. And that if you had those perspectives in your arsenal, you would go a lot further. So something that I'm trying to do for 2022 is really expand my network and not really ask for anything, but ask people like, what can I do? What can I give? How can I help? And just for the sake of like, one, it's fun to meet other people. When you do that, you're able to hear kind of their story, how they got to where they're at. And then they kind of give you game on like, you know, certain key things that you need to know in order to be successful in a particular niche, particular industry. So networking is pretty huge for me, and I'm starting to do it a lot, especially as I get into the crypto and NFT world. And a lot of you guys may know that or may not know that, but I've been going pretty heavy there outside of my sales channel. But yeah, network is very important. So I would always recommend like sometimes just going to a random networking event in your local area, just meeting someone, meeting a friend that can change your perspective completely. Or even it could be like, let's say you are looking for a job and you want to learn from someone that is doing something that you want to do in the future. Like just getting into your foot in the door and just understanding what they do, that can completely change your life, open your perspective. And then in the future, 10 years from now, you know, you would have been on a completely different path compared to if you didn't meet that person, right? So it only takes one person to change your life. Obviously, having more deeper connections, various perspectives is also very helpful. Never underestimate the power of perspective, because at the end of the day, our perspective is our reality. Now, the next tip that I have for you, it sounds extremely obvious, it sounds redundant, not important, but I promise you this one can change your life, and that is Google is your best friend. So in anything in life, you can literally search anything that you need to know, find a YouTube video, find an article, learn that thing, do it, and get the job done. Now, what's really interesting is that although this is extremely obvious, you'd be surprised about how many people don't leverage this to their full advantage. A lot of people, they feel like they need one-on-one mentorship, or they need like someone to directly teach them how to do XYZ, and that if they don't have those resources or if they don't have those connections, they just say like, I don't really have money to buy that or buy that course. I don't have money to, you know, get that mentorship. So I'm just gonna stay at the level I'm at. I'm just gonna blame my external factors on why I can't be successful. But the thing is that Google is free, it's for everybody, right? And so a lot of the things that I personally learned in my business career and sales career, I literally Googled it first, found someone I could learn from, whether it's like a video, an online course, or a tutorial, and then I just like copied it, and I was like, oh, okay, that's how you do it. And then I just created my own spin as I started to move forward, right? So anything that you want to do, anything that you want to learn, it's literally on Google. It can take you extremely far, you know, especially if you're a beginner, it can take you from like 0 to 1. Now, if you want to become a master at something, yeah, maybe Google may not have the information you're looking for if you're trying to be the top 5% in your field, but it can definitely get you from like nothing to something, right? So if you want to design, if you want to learn sales, if you want to create like entertainment, or like if you want to create a video game, or you want to do like 3D rendering, for example, it's literally on Google. There are a million tutorials about how to do these things, and other people have already learned it, so why not learn from them, right? I know it sounds extremely obvious, but you'd be surprised, right? Like if it was so obvious, then why would people take dead-end jobs that you just repeat the same thing over and over and over and not advance in their career? Is it because they're blaming their parents? Is it because they're blaming the school they went to? Or is it because they're blaming the lack of going to school, right? But in reality, you know, I know it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but in reality, the information is there. It's available for everybody, right? Like a really good relevant example that I personally been through is that, you know, over the past, let's say like 6 months, 7 months, I've been really learning about NFTs and crypto. And it's not like I had a mentor. It's not like anybody was like, Patrick, you should buy Ethereum or whatever, right? It was more like I was just curious about it, and I started watching YouTube videos about it. I started following random people on Twitter to see what they're talking about. And then my knowledge from where I started to where I am now is completely different. I literally learned it all from the internet, like from free resources that everybody has access to. Anything that you want to learn, I think if you put in the work and you're actually interested in that topic, you can learn it online for free to get started. I guess over time, you know, it might make sense to be part of a paid community or get some mentorship. Yes, I understand the value of that. It actually is extremely valuable. But if you're just getting started and you're stuck and you're not sure what to do, Google it first, try some tutorials, put in the hours, right? Put in 100 hours into something, and you'll get pretty far relative to everybody else. And so with that said, those are gonna be some of the top tips that I've been learning in my career, and I will see you guys in the next one.